Welcome back and welcome back to our show. Now today we have an amazing guest, an amazing educator. And just before she gets to tell us what she's about to inform our audience with, she needs to tell us who she is and maybe what she does. So karibu sana.
Asante.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Beatrice Mecha. I'm an educator. I'm also a student of psychology.
Wow.
And at most and at heart, I am a mental health activist as well as a well-being advocate.
Wow. That's amazing. Look at those accolades. Wow. Now, and it's for that reason that we are here today. We want to look at the mental well-being of their caregivers. Now, Beatrice, tell us, how are the caregivers affected mentally when they've dedicated their time and energy and effort to look after a child who has difficulties, maybe probably going through autism, a child who's autistic? What happens to the caregiver?
Well, caregiving, as you know, you may as well know, is about taking care of somebody who is not able to take care of themselves, and it could be because they have a disease or some condition that stops them from living their everyday life in the way that is expected and the normal, or what we consider normal. And therefore, as a caregiver, especially for a child who's autistic, it comes to you unexpectedly, of course, but you have to put on the cap of being almost a nurse, and sometimes a teacher to your child.
Yes.
And that comes with a lot of challenges, because it's not something that when you are getting a child you were expecting or you were buying into. And so, for instance, it comes in with extra expenses. So suddenly you were planning to have a child who was going through the usual steps. Then you have a child who has extra needs. All right. So this child probably needs to go to a school that accommodates their needs. So, school which is supposed to be free education does not sound as free, in that case. This child may need extra equipment depending on, again, the extent of the autism, because, again, autism is a spectrum. So depending on their functionality, then that child's needs will become an extra expense that you probably had not thought about when you were getting a child. Some children have a need for a special diet. So incorporating a special diet for a child is actually an extra expense.
Yes.
All right. Some children, if I must say, who have autism, need to stay off things like gluten, which is the easiest snack for any parent.
Yes.
So what happens then? That's an extra cost. And it's even worse if, for instance, you're not economically stable. And that comes with a mental toll. And that's where well-being comes in.
And I remember when I was taking my kid, he's autistic, to some of these therapies. It did cost me quite a lot of money. Each session was around 4,500 shillings. And I was imagining a parent who did not have insurance cover, because I have insurance cover. So some amount of this cash comes from the insurance cover. And I'm thinking, a child who needs like 5 sessions per week, 4,500, that's quite a lot of money. And that can actually create quite a strain financially to that caregiver. And I'm thinking, what that parent who does not have an insurance cover, what they need to go through for them to actually have this money and help that child. This is quite task. It's a difficult job.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
How else are they affected through this?
Well, they are also affected socially, right? Some people may actually face even isolation, because autistic children sometimes, they don't behave like other kids behave, especially if you have a child who's very autistic, for lack of a better word, who's having, say, tantrums, who has difficulty communicating. That child, may not be able to fit into the social environment. And that means for you as a parent, you need to start changing who comes to your house, or where you go to, where you take your child.
Right.
If you're somebody who goes on holidays, you have to rethink your holidays. if you're married, your relationship changes because
your friends.
Your friends change, right? Because you're this person who's burdened with something extra. You can't just go out.
Yes.
And that also is a toll on a person, because we are social beings. So if you're not doing well socially, again, that is a mental health issue.